Well, well, well. Folks, this is going to be an interesting episode because it's sadly, well, it actually starts off with Serena talking about some chick in a cheerleading outfit killing zombies. But after that, we'll be discussing the sad death of actor Jonathan Joss and the things that have gone around it, because apparently not everything is as it seems with the case, or at least so we've seen so far. Plus, we're talking about the fact that apparently there's going to be a white Black Panther, so that's interesting. And, of course, discussing the major move that we're seemingly seeing from a lot of streamers, that they are going to be moving from Twitch to other platforms, and what exactly that means for the future of content creation, which will be interesting. So, folks, the insanity has never left us, so let's just go ahead and get into it. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, once again to another episode of On the Grind. Alright, Serena. Tell us about the Lollipop Chainsaw.
Lollipop Chainsaw is a game from, I believe, the 2010 era. Is an action game by Suda51 of... He did No More Heroes, right? I know Suda51 did Shadows of the Dam.
Killer
I think
7.
he did No More Heroes. What?
No More Heroes, Killer 7, Dead... crying out loud. No More
Heroes, Killer 7, and Shadows of the Dam.
Shadows of the Damned. There's a couple of them. God dang it.
I'm pulling it up right now. Yeah, Killer 7, No More Heroes, Shadows of the Damned. Those are kind of like his big ones. He's a very kooky man.
Yeah.
Very, very strange.
I believe he collaborated with James Gunn of Guardians of the Galaxy fame to write this, to bring this game to life. I think James Gunn wrote this story for Lollipop Chainsaw. So Lollipop Chainsaw takes place in a world, well, it focuses on the zombie hunter Juliet Sterling as she wakes up in the morning and gets ready for school. Unbeknownst to her, the entire school has basically been run amok by zombies. Her classmates and friends that she knew just yesterday have now become zombies that are trying to kill her and everyone in the world. And to top it off, it's her 18th birthday. So she has spent the entire... takes place over 24 hours. So you basically have to spend your entire birthday trying to save the world from a zombie apocalypse. So she what?
It is peak.
Yeah, she basically drives to school on her bike to meet up with her boyfriend Nick. So she fights her way through the school's parking lot, and when she gets there, she is sneak attacked by a zombie, but luckily her boyfriend Nick gets in the way and stops her from being attacked. Unfortunately for him, he gets bitten and starts to turn. In order to save Nick's life, Juliet has to cut off his head and perform a magic spell that turns him into like a disembodied talking head that you see on her hip. So it's basically Juliet and her bodiless boyfriend trying to save the world from the zombie apocalypse. This is a really crazy game, and I just fucking love the premise. As you could probably tell, the game takes itself too seriously. It's very meta in some places. You got...
I like when she's talking to... Who is that guy? He's my sensei. Because he's
Morikawa. Morikawa is basically the pervert teacher character. He's constantly perving on Juliet. He's very eccentric. Then you got Juliet's weird ass family. Her gun nut crazy sister Cordelia Sterling. Her very eccentric younger sister Rosalind Starling, who dresses like she's from the 70s or 80s. And then you got her father, Gideon Starling, who is basically a legendary zombie hunter who dresses like a greaser slash 60s dad in the supposedly the modern day. The entire family is just dressed in this very retro style. And that's something you see throughout the game. It's very retro.
All I'm saying is that we got to be the Americans that the Japanese think we are.
Yeah.
It is.
So the first section of the game, you're just fighting in the parking lot. The how the game plays is that you have the chainsaw attack, the standard chainsaw attack. I'm playing this on my Switch. So you have the standard chainsaw attack, then you have the low slash attack, followed by on the A button. The basic attack for a chainsaw is the X button. Then you have the cheerleading kind of the cheerleading attack that basically dazes enemies. So you got the attack that's supposed to stun enemies. And then you over the course of the game you earn different abilities in different sections of the game. One of my favorite abilities is the chainsaw gun. The chainsaw gun, where you basically just shoot it turns your gun into a literal blaster, the chainsaw blaster, and you just shoot enemies without ever taking damage. I love this in the when it first came out the Xbox. I played this game the first time back in late high school, early college, and I had completed it within less than 24 hours. This game is very short. It's you can play this game in 5 hours or more, depending on what you're doing.
To be fair, though, it does rely a lot on replayability because, if I remember correctly, if you don't collect all the civilians, you get the bad ending.
Yeah, that's what happened to me the first time I played this. I didn't realize that until near the end because I was just wanting to get to the ending.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize that I had to actually walk over and collect the coins from the civilians for it to count as a saved civilian. So wherever you save civilians, you have to make sure after they reach their secured location, you go up to them and they'll just give you some coins and it'll count towards the meter. That's something you have to keep in mind. But when I completed Repop, I got the good ending because I made sure to walk up to the civilians after I saved them.
Yeah.
Though you can complete the game again and see the bad ending if you want. But long story short, the bad ending is basically Juliet's mom becomes a zombie, and she is so heavily implied that she kills her family. The good ending is that Juliet's mom basically remains human and presents a big ass birthday cake for the family to celebrate Juliet's birthday. So, back to the gameplay, you get abilities like Chainsaw Blast, Chainsaw Dash, which is basically it basically allows you to turn your chainsaw into a mini car where you could just zoom through enemies. I believe the stadium level is basically where you're going to be using that the most. I fucking hate the stadium section because there's a section where you have to do the zombie basketball shit, and it's just so fucking annoying because you need to use the sparkle meter, which is basically an ultimate form for Juliet. Basically, it's one hit. It's basically God mode, temporary God mode. You can just one hit kill enemies.
Oh yeah, that was kind of an annoying part, wasn't it?
Yeah. So you learn different abilities over the course of the game. My favorite part of the game was the Fuji Fun Center, which is basically just you're playing the entire level is just you playing through the different arcade style, classic arcade style levels. So you got a level that's based on Pac-Man, a level that's based on the what do you call that elevator game? But you have to ascend and go through different floors, gathering and killing enemies.
Shit.
And then you have another section that is you are in like this elevator. You have to ascend. This is a different one, but you have to descend the side of a building as objects falling on you, while also like dodging them and destroying enemies on your way. Basically, that section is a bit difficult because one of the achievements for that is that you cannot use your blaster not even once. It is fucking difficult. I remember the first time I played this game, I tried to get all the achievements, and that was the last achievement I had to get. I almost dropped this game trying to get that one achievement. It is supremely difficult.
Shoot. In that game that you're talking about with the tower, are you talking about Let It Die?
The tire?
No, there's a tower you were talking about.
Yeah, the tower where you like ascend the tower while pressing the blast button.
Okay, well, never mind.
I don't know. I know it's based on an old school game. I just don't know what the game is called.
Shoot.
But Nick also has different abilities such as Nick Toss, Nick Shake, Nick Popper, and Nick Shoot, where you can use him against the enemies in battle. You can also use him to destroy obstacles. It turns into like a mini game where you have to press the standard button on screen as he's moving towards the designated position or about to bring an object in order to destroy the obstacle. It is kind of cute when you see Juliet is like performing cheers to support him. And most of the game, you're just seeing the banter between these two and the ups and downs of their relationship. This is like the first video game that actually makes me care about a couple. Because you only see a lot of games that like do couples like this.
Yeah, because like they're, aside from the fact that he's just ahead, I mean it's reasonably like, you know, she cares about him, she loves him. I mean she loves him enough that she was willing to use her like zombie hunter magic to save him. So I mean, yeah, it's a pretty positive relationship now that you mention it.
Yeah. Her entire family are zombie hunters to some degrees. The villains of the game is very interesting. The villains of the game, well, the villain of the game is basically a goth teenager by a goth teenager by the name of Swan, who his entire motivation of starting the zombie apocalypse is because he's an outcast and he got rejected, or I won't say rejected, but he felt upset when he discovered Juliet was dating Nick. So basically, the entire podcast was because he looked like he would watch an Andrew Tate video. I'm not gonna lie, that's the vibes I get from Swan. So he summons the Dark Purveyors, which are basically these zombies who they're basically these zombie super bosses, and they're all based on dead music genres. So the first zombie you appeared for the school section, his name is Zed. He's basically the original OG punk rock. Like what you think, when you think of punk rock, you think of spiky haired, plaid pants, band t-shirt looking, a goth looking dude.
Basically everything that punk was before Green Day came around and ruined it.
Yeah, that's what he is. And then you got other zombies that is like, you got like the second one after him is Vic, the Viking metal zombie. I fucking hate Vic's boss fight because it's just annoying. Because you have to use the you have to use the chainsaw blast on certain sections with him. Plus, it is very easy for him to stun you, which is the annoying part of that boss fight, because Juliet doesn't move as fast as the other bosses, which I hate in any action game. because I will be pressing the dodge button like crazy, and the character doesn't dodge in time. Then you have like a zombie that's a hippie. She's Mariska. I like Mariska's character. I do not like her boss fight. 'Cause I just find her boss fight very annoying. Because there's another boss fight that requires you to use a chainsaw blaster while while basically being mindful of your environment. Because I can only get a couple of hits before something tries to kill me on like the left side of me. Then after her, you have Josie, which is one of my second favorite of the Dark Purveyors. He's basically Mariska, she's kind of like a hippie type zombie. So she's like, she represents the 80s, not 80s, 70s, like Burning Man hippie type. The hallucinogenic hippie type. That's what she represents. Then you have Josie, who is basically the 80s, kind of, what do you call them? Like the 80s, like dancing. The 80s clubber who's like he literally dresses in a diaper while wearing a pimp outfit.
Dang it.
That speaks in like he speaks in auto tune.
What's the name of the boss again?
Josie. Josey.
Okay, let me have a look at him.
Let's go have a look.
Oh,
yeah, he looks like a character from Black Dynamite. He looks like he will fit well in Black Dynamite.
Oh, they call him Funk Zombie, so it looks like he's based on George Clinton.
I don't know who that is.
Oh my gosh.
You're just a sweet
like
baby.
I said, all the bosses in this game are reference to music genres of certain time periods. The one of the last Dark Purveyors that you have to take down is literally a 1950s Fonzie type greaser.
Mm-hmm.
He represents his genre is what is called elephant rock. I've never heard of that. And then you got the final boss, who is literally just Elvis. Is zombie Elvis. So all the bosses in the game were essentially just sacrifices, including Swan himself, to bring zombie Elvis to life so he can wreck Earth.
I'm sorry, I love this. Influences. Parliament. Funkadelics. Parliament is the funk group that George Clinton founded. It's probably like the biggest funk group ever. Rick James. 8-foot piles of cocaine. C-3PO. Like, what the fuck?
A lot of the characters have their their own little cards, their own little introduction cards. It's just so funny what is written on these cards, because Zed's card basically makes him look like a psychopath. Like he loves hurting small animals. He's the punk rocker. He's the old Zed's probably one of my favorite bosses in the game, because his gimmick is that he curses all the time. He literally turns his profanity into attacks. There's a point where he calls you a sleaze, and it comes out as giant letter attacks that you have to dodge.
I mean, as you do. So, so that Viking
so
metal guy.
I love it. And the zombies, and it's not just the zombie, but the zombies and the civilians say the weirdest shit. I uploaded, if you scroll up, I uploaded some screenshots.
Let me go see.
One of the screenshots has the zombies, the fat zombie saying, "I got hemorrhoids." And then another zombie saying that he wants to fuck Juliet's father. And that you save a high school student who basically says, "I think those zombies were trying to bukkake me." Keep
Nice.
in mind, when I played this in high school, I had no idea what that is. And I looked it up, and holy shit, I wish I didn't. Jesus Christ.
There goes any innocence you had.
Yeah, well, I was never innocent. Like the games I played was very similar to Lollipop Chainsaw because around the time I was in high school, I was also getting into Bayonetta and other similar games like that.
I mean, that's also peak. Oh goodness. So yeah,
So the
would
final
you
boss
recommend
that
this
you
here?
have to take out of this, well, and the climax, Juliet's father kind of sacrifices himself to get to give Juliet an opening to go inside zombie Elvis so she can take him down from the inside. The game ends with the climax of the game is that Nick chooses to sacrifice himself to save the world, and he ends up in the afterlife. But because there was like this cosmic mix-up, he ends up getting Morikawa's body. So Nick is literally in Morikawa's body. No longer this, shorter than Juliet. Because keep on, Morikawa is shorter than Juliet.
Oh, so he got turned
So he
into a
only
manlet.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got her to badly. His face only goes up to her breast. So, but Julia doesn't care. She's just happy to have her boyfriend back.
Mm-hmm.
And the family head home, depending on how well you did out the game. How well you did throughout the game, you can either get the good ending and the bad ending.
And
I just wish
you have to get every
it was
single civilian for the good ending.
yeah, yeah. You have to save every civilian you come across in each level. They added a new mode called Nightmare Mode. I fucking hate Nightmare Mode because not only is everything dark, but the zombies are much harder and difficult to kill. The problems I ran into with Nightmare Mode was Mariska's boss fight because you have to use the chainsaw blast to take her down. The reason why that was difficult is because when I shot her down, I had a hard time trying to find this chick. I could not see what was in front of me, so I had to retry this one level like literally 5 times because I couldn't see where she was or where she had landed. I knew she was in front of me, but the icon, the lock on feature wasn't popping up for me. Another issue is that this game does have some bugs that I noticed. I don't know if this is just exclusive to the Switch. I haven't played it on other consoles. But the game, there are playing points where I was running around in certain sections and Julia would stop moving and get stuck on the literal level, and either causing me to die because at one point, just an hour before this podcast, I ended up dying in a level because Juliet got stuck somewhere. I couldn't see where she was. A couple of days ago, I also got stuck on another level and I had to restart the entire game. This was close to a boss fight. I had to restart the entire section over again and make my way to the boss fight again. Um, there also is graphical issues. There are points in a game where, especially I noticed this when you meet up with like when there's like close-ups on characters, they look very blurry and they look like PS1, PS2 graphics. Because when during this cutscene when you first meet Morikawa, he looks like a close-up of his face makes him look like he's like a character out of a PS2 game. And it a couple of seconds before all the graphics had to load in before it starts looking okay. So that's like another problem you're going to. I don't know if this is a problem on other consoles, but this is a problem with the Switch because the Switch can barely run like very action intensive games.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a miracle they got it.
Yeah, another thing is that button response. Sometimes the buttons do not respond in the way that they should. For example, when I was this was during Lewis's boss fight. I was trying to attack Lewis, but the button didn't. The attack button wasn't doing anything, and it kind of killed me because I had a split second before my health got depleted. So it was very annoying playing this game again, especially on the Switch. It's best to play this game on consoles.
Or the PC version
Um,
came out as well.
yeah, I don't play PC. I just play consoles. But what else? What else? The characters. I spoken briefly about the characters, but the characters are just memorable, even when they don't really have a lot to say. Every single character, including the classmates, are just memorable because they say the most off-colored shit ever. Like Juliet literally, like during there are plenty of points throughout the game where Juliet just pole dances in order to kill zombies. And there's a screenshot I took when she's talking to Nick as she's pole dancing and killing zombies at the Fuji Fun Center. She basically says, "When I practice alone in my room, I do it naked and get less wind resistance." And Nick has no idea how to respond to that.
Oh Lord.
And then there's a conversation she has with her dad about how limber Nick's tongue is. And her dad's like, "Wait, what?"
Oh.
Like this is the first time her father is actually meeting Nick. So none of her family up until this point has met Nick at this point.
So, since we've been talking about this for about almost like a half hour now, so Serena, the repop version of this, do you recommend it to our audience?
Yes, I recommend the repop version, but only on the consoles or PC. I do not recommend it on the Switch because the Switch can barely handle action games as is. And also, I wish they made Juliet a little bit faster, like some action protagonist. Maybe because I play so much Ninja Gaiden and Bayonetta growing up, it kind of frustrates me when I play a protagonist in an action game that's a lot slower than the enemies, and I end up taking damage.
Yeah. Well, folks, you heard it from Serena. If you're interested in Lollipop Chainsaw, go pick it up. Well, let's go
Yeah,
ahead
if
and
you're
move on
interested in
to our.
action
Oh, good.
that doesn't take itself too seriously.
Yeah. All right, let's get started with our topics of the week. To get us cooking, sad news happened this week. Actor Jonathan Joss was killed in front of his old home in Texas. Now, for those of you who do not know who Jonathan Joss is, he's a pretty famous Native American actor. He was probably mostly known, I think it's fair to say, mostly known for his role as Jonathan Redcorn on King of the Hill. Though he did do other stuff.
He was in Parks and Recreation, if I remember correctly, being a magic Indian that was trying to profit off the superstition of the backwards town.
Yeah. He was on that. I'm looking through his credits right now. He did some stuff for the Wild Thornberries. He had a lot of bit roles. I'm noticing.
Because he had the ancestor's voice.
Yes,
Very
basically.
thick.
And yeah, he could rely on that. Recently, he was also on Tulsa King, only for a couple episodes though. But he also did voices for video games as well. He had done some stuff for Red Dead Redemption. He was a character named John in the Walking Dead video game, or the Michonne video game specifically. He was a character in Days Gone. He was in the third Wasteland game. And he was also a Ripper Doc as a cameo in Cyberpunk 2077.
Oh, really? Shit.
Yep. A Ripper Doc named Robert Rainwater that you find in Phantom Liberty. So,
Okay.
little cameo appearance there. But yeah, he was mostly known for King of the Hill and Parks and Rec. And so the way that it was reported, or what we know in regards to his passing, is that he was shot to death by a neighbor of his. And the first bit of news that came out was just about the shooting. And then Jonathan, who was bisexual, he was married to a man, and that husband went onto Facebook, posted a long diatribe about what. Well, you interrupted me.
I'm sorry, but I have to kind of like correct something. It's not a man; it's a trans man. So it was a woman who transitioned to a man.
Oh, whatever. But
non-standard relationship.
Yeah, we'll just go with that. So as it stands, the husband posts a whole diatribe online of what they said happened. The idea being that this neighbor came up, that this neighbor had supposedly put the skull of one of their dead pets on the porch of their now burnt down house. So they had come to mourn the pet or something, and it's like, well, then why did he put the skull there? But whatever. But he said some homophobic slurs and then just opened fire. And it's like, oh, wow, okay, that's fucking wild. However, when the police came around, they said that there's no evidence of this. And after that was said, one thing that has been sort of the... How do I put this? I'm trying to be graceful to the guy, because he is dead. But the facts that have come out, or at least the stories about him, is that Jonathan Joss was a very troubled man. He had a lot of problems. So, one thing that got passed around was that there was recently a King of the Hill thing at a festival in Austin called ATX TV. He was not invited to the King of the Hill panel, but just showed up in the audience and kept bringing up, like, interrupting the panel, causing problems, bringing up that his house got burnt down, so on and so forth. And yeah, that's
I believe he got kicked out of that.
Yeah, he did get kicked out. And on top of that, like, he had been... A lot of the things that he'd been saying were kind of wild, to say the least. Because the fire just happened just back in January.
And the supposed cause was the fact that he was grilling inside his house.
Yeah. Though he also claimed that it was a propane heater too, so the story keeps changing. It's
all over the place. But there was footage of him, like, trying to hose down the burning part while yelling, "We don't need no water, let this motherfucker burn." Well, I guess singing that song.
Yeah. And apparently he had substantial drug and alcohol problems as well that he flat out said he refused to get help for. Apparently he'd had the police called on him over a dozen times over the last year, just in the neighborhood acting crazy. So we don't really know what was said during this. And the other thing that was noted is that the police now are at a point where they actually walked back because of social pressure. Because what the police said, the police, again, they just flat out said, we don't know, we don't think this is a hate crime. There's no evidence of it. So it's really hard to say what happened, because we're dealing with a guy who had severe mental illness problems. According to his ex-girlfriend, when she spoke to TMZ, like, this guy has had mental health problems his whole life. And he's had a ton of problems. You know, for ages upon ages. He refused to get help. In fact, said girlfriend claimed that there were points where he was emotionally abusive to her. But there were other people that worked with him on like Parks and Rec and stuff like that that have also said that he could also be a very pleasant individual. Which, again, speaking as somebody who deals with mental illness and I've known a lot of people that had struggled with it. I was married to a woman who was bipolar, who was not medicating. I will say this right now, is that there's a lot of people that when they have disorders like this, they will have long streaks of lucidity where they're perfectly fine and they seem completely normal and sane, and then something just switches. It just changes in them, and then suddenly they act like a completely different person. They're on a hair trigger constantly. I don't know if that's what Joss suffered from, but it is to be considered. You know, and bipolar disorder is definitely something that you don't want to deal with unmedicated, because you can really damage relationships around you very badly. And I've seen it, because my ex-wife isn't the only person that I've ever had to deal with that problem. Like, I had a coworker at one point when I worked at a church camp that my uncle owns, or not owns, but used to run. We had a girl that was on staff there that also had struggled with bipolar disorder, who sometimes just wouldn't take her meds, and she was a nightmare to deal with. And the whole thing about it is a mess. Not to mention, there's also statements that, which I'm going to say this right now to all journalists out there, the fact that TMZ is doing better coverage on this fucking case than a lot of mainstream is doing is kind of sad. Because they actually started interviewing the neighbors. And apparently, according to many of the neighbors who overheard what happened, they didn't hear anything homophobic said about it. But what they did say is that the shooter and Joss had a feud for years over the fact that Joss would consistently pull a bunch of crazy bullshit because he had mental problems. Like, apparently, like, this is just stuff that they would say is like, included, we were told those antics included Joss flying into random angry rants, yelling abusive language at anyone in the area. He also did bizarre things like bang pots and pans on his roof at night. And then this sounds honestly like boilerplate bipolar disorder. Like, this is gonna sound familiar because I know Mike's dealt with people that have bipolar as well. Yeah. Listen to this. Neighbors were told perceived these episodes of rage as a mental breakdown. They told us that Joss, on more than one occasion, would apologize the next day after the meltdown.
It's always followed by an apology.
Yep, it's a cycle.
Or they'll like gift you a bunch of things constantly, and then that's sort of like prepayment for the next time that they flip their shit.
Yeah, like that. It sounds so standard. That's what my ex-wife would do. Is she would freak out and have breakdowns and stuff like that, and then the next day, there would be this long ass apology, and there would be forgiveness, and then there would be a bunch of love bombing, after that, to sort of like pad your patience effectively for the next time they do something crazy. And
as an aside, when it comes to TMZ and death, I only trust TMZ, right? When there's death involved, TMZ has like 100% fucking like reporting rate on everything. It's ridiculous. They're fantastic.
It's wild too. You wouldn't expect that.
Yeah. So I don't believe celebrities die until I see like TMZ report it, because they're just fantastic. It's so fucking weird. They don't
Yeah.
fuck around with their death reporting. But yeah, no, it's bipolar disorder is just fucking terrible to deal with. I'll be quite honest.
Yeah. Now, one thing I should clarify. I'm not trying to say because you're gonna get that one crazy for saying, "Oh, you're saying that it's his fault that he got shot." That's not what anyone is saying.
No.
This is sad because again, Joss was a good actor who admittedly, like, it wouldn't surprise me if his mental health issues kept him from getting more roles. People just probably didn't want to deal with him, you know? And the drugs and stuff like that were probably self-medication for something. Because that's another sad part about a lot of people I've met that are mentally unwell is they self-medicate as opposed to just going to your head shrinker, talking to them about what's going on, and then getting on meds. But the point that I'm at least trying to get by is that I feel that a lot of people want to jump to
Their cause of the day.
Yeah, because they want it to be a validation of how they view the world. Because I know a lot of people that are kind of like Twitter protesters and such that consistently want to validate the idea that the whole world is homophobic and hates them and da 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 da. Which that's not really the case. You know, we live in, you know, probably the most accepting time in the West to be a gay person ever. You know, like it just is what it is. And we live in probably the safest time if you live in the West to be a gay person ever. But some people want this for, their cause du jour. But the problem that I have with it is that, A, you're standing on the grave of someone to feel self-righteous. This is why, personally, if I ever get famous, I pray that I die peacefully in my sleep. So nobody can use me for their cause du jour. Because, Jesus! It frustrates me to no end. And the big thing is we just don't know what happened. You know, it might have just been one of those things where...
Two guys with guns were just... You know, just fucking... Just that one last thing that just like, you know what, fuck it, we're gonna do this the old style.
Yeah. It's really hard to say. We're probably not gonna know the truth until the court case. And it doesn't sound like murder cases, usually it takes a while to come around. They let the guy out on bail. He's under house arrest until the trial. I don't think a trial date has been set. At least I didn't see one, but I could be wrong. And whenever that happens, we will find out, you know, when he gets to be in front of a court of his peers. At the end of the day, I guess my point that I'm trying to make is like this is a sad story already by itself. But assuming that it's the worst, or just to fit your worldview, I think is kind of scummy. Like, don't stand on the man's grave to fucking grandstand about this, that, and the other. Like, you know, let the man rest. It's over. It's done. He's gone. Let it be. What do you guys think about all this?
Yeah, no, it's an unfortunate case of mental illness, and I don't know how this is going to turn out, but it's unfortunately mirrors a lot of stories that I hear growing up, and of you know, just mental illness not just being treated, and just the particular cultures around it, and it's not good.
I'm just very disappointed at a YouTuber I'm subscribed to who didn't wait for the facts to come out.
So let's continue on with our discussion here. So this is so awesome. The new Black Panther is a white guy.
Isn't it just going to be great?
Yeah. So this is an interesting thing. So I've been looking into this while we've been talking, and effectively what this is that this is from a comic book that's going to be coming out called Marvel Knights: The World to Come. It's a collaboration between Joe Quesada, who used to be the head of Marvel Comics, who I still have a feeling still has a ton of influence over editorial there, because he basically gave everybody who is in current Marvel editorial a career. And one of his friends, who he also admittedly did get into and helped create the best Black Panther run of all time, Christopher Priest. So Christopher Priest is, again, for those, to give a little background, at least for me, Christopher Priest is my favorite comic book writer ever. His run on Black Panther is one of the greatest comics of all time, and it's one of the most unsung comic books of all time. The fact that people don't talk about it, to me, is just criminal, because it's so fucking good. All of the stuff that you guys saw in the Black Panther film and the portrayal of T'Challa in the MCU, folks, all that is based around Christopher Priest's writing of the character. The character does not act like T'Challa in fucking Ta-Nehisi Coates' bullshit rag. You know, he doesn't act like the T'Challa from a lot of the other ones. He flat out acts like the version Christopher Priest wrote, and there's a reason for that. Priest was on set as somebody who helped out with that fucking film. He was consulted by Ryan Coogler, and then before that was consulted by the guys who did Civil War. Because it's just like, if you're a comic book nerd, you just know that Christopher Priest is the fucking man when it comes to Black Panther. So, the thing about Priest, though, because he's been writing comic books for a very long time, and he's been kind of a controversial figure. One reason being that at one point, he was writing Iron Fist, and he killed the character off.
Which is kind of ballsy, honestly.
Oh, yeah. But, regardless, Priest has this thing. He talked about this before he did his run on Deathstroke, which was, he did 50 issues of, from August of 2016 to December 2019. It was the comic to read from DC for a long while. And the thing that he said in, or how it came around when, I think it was Dan DiDio DiDio was the head of DC at the time during Rebirth. He called Priest and said, "Hey, I want you to write for us. I want you to write for DC." Because he had done other stuff with DC before, but it had been a long time. And he goes, "Okay, here's the gimmick. If you want me to write this, I'm not writing a black character. I'm done writing black characters." Because he was just frustrated with being typecast. He's like, "I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to write who I want to write and the characters that I find interesting. Period, point blank." And he's like, "All right, what about Deathstroke?" He's like, "I'm in." So, I want people to keep in mind. So, him returning to Black Panther, this isn't the first time he's done it. He also did it for a one-shot comic. But in it, he only wrote T'Challa for a page. He was writing the CIA agent who used to be attached to him, whose name is escaping me at the moment, because I'm terrible with names. But what ends up happening is, I hear about this comic. I'm like, holy shit. There's we're getting fucking, Priest coming back on Black Panther. Like, that's a big deal, because he is the best. So here's the solicitation from Marvel. Developed and almost already completed in its entirety, Marvel Knights: The World to Come is a 6-issue series where Quesada and Priest combine their decades of experience crafting masterful comic book sagas to produce an entirely new vision of the Marvel Universe. The story begins in Wakanda, with startling developments centered around T'Challa, Storm, Shuri, who is T'Challa's little sister, and more that will reverberate across the globe, changing the Marvel mythos as you know it and boldly reinventing its most legendary heroes. So this takes place in the future of 616, basically. The King of Wakanda is dead, leaving unguarded the world's most advanced technology, most precious metal, and a cryptic vault of dark secrets, while triggering global conflicts among Marvel's heroes, villains, and mutants. With T'Challa gone and the future of the Marvel Universe teetering with a vibranium knife's edge, a tribal challenge ensues for the Wakandan throne, and its mysterious victor will emerge as the new leader of Wakanda and usher in the world to come. Here's where it gets really interesting. The Black Panther that wins this contest is apparently a son of T'Challa, but he's white.
So the question is, who's his mother?
Well, hold on. Let's go even further with this. Not only is he white, like he's not like a black dude with pale skin. He is blonde with blue eyes.
Motherfucker is a Scandinavian Viking.
Yeah.
Cat Williams.
He seems like the fucking Ryan Gosling meme. About Ryan, like some people have seen it's like if you're gonna race swap all these characters, can we get Ryan Gosling as Black Panther? And it's just funny to me because it's like people were on Twitter saying that it's Marvel being racist and stuff like that. So I went onto the Twitter, and I felt the need to say some things about it. So I'm gonna read off what I said, because I have an ego. My first tweet about it surprisingly got 43,000 impressions, which for me is shocking because I've only got a couple thousand Twitter followers. But I put in here, Christopher Priest is coming back to Marvel Comics to write Black Panther. Twist. Priest is a black man who hates being typecast into being the guy who writes black people because he's black. Immediately turns the Black Panther white. And the point that I make on it is that, because I added more details, I said, for those who don't know, this isn't the first time Christopher Priest is given the title to a non-Wakandan. He previously gave the mantle to Kevin Casper Cole. Well, Kevin Cole is named Casper because he has a father who's originally from Uganda, but his mom's a Jew. A pale Jew. So Kevin Casper Cole is very light-skinned. So, effectively, the second Black Panther that we know in publication was a Jew. And now I think that this new one is going to be the fourth. And he's white. And people were losing their shit about it until they saw tweets that said, but the writer who wrote this is a black man. And it's just like weird stuff people are saying is like, giving T'Challa, giving him a Caucasian son is an insult to black people. And I'm like, well, that's kind of racist. And I actually had, like, the one thing about this, I feel, as a Black Panther fan, I feel the need to say this. T'Challa is not king of the black people. He hates it when people say that he is.
He's the king of Wakanda. You have to keep that in mind.
He does not consider himself black. He's said it. He is African. Specifically Wakandan. And you gotta understand, folks, if we were to give characters in Marvel political wings, T'Challa is a monarch. He is a monarchist, specifically. Wakanda has a tribal council, and those council the council members are elected, but he is the ruler of Wakanda. It is a monarchy. To be honest with you, and not to mention, Wakanda, strict border policies. This is going to upset some people. T'Challa, the Black Panther, is a right-wing character.
And they need to stop trying to portray, like, Wakanda, like, is this fantasy, black, Afro-futures, black utopia.
Yeah, it's not Black
because
Narnia.
It's really not.
It's not, yeah, it's not. It's not Black Narnia. Like, that's not what it is. I mean, for fuck's sake, like, you can literally become the king of Wakanda by killing the fucking king. That's not a utopia. Fuck off. So that's a thing that's going on. And effectively what happens is that the guy who beats T'Challa in tribal combat is a son of his who is white. And we don't know the details because only one issue has come out so far. There could be a possibility.
It could be funny just to see where this guy came from out of nowhere.
Oh, yeah. My theory is that he's adopted. I want to know. I think that he's probably adopted, because this is not the first... this is not the first character that has been around T'Challa that... that has been around him. So there's a character... I always
saw the Wakandan.
Well... So this is a character. There's a character also created by Christopher Priest, whose name is Hunter. Hunter is an Afrikaner, from what I understand. Though I don't think they actually are ever specific about his about where he's from, because a plane crashed in Wakanda. And Hunter was the only survivor and was adopted by King T'Chaka. So basically, again, for those who don't know, T'Challa has a white brother. But what ended up happening is that Hunter grew up and ended up becoming the head of the Hitutziratse, which is the secret police of Wakanda. And he's kind of a frenemy to T'Challa. He's a brutal guy. Can be outright villainous at points. Has challenged for the throne of Wakanda more than once. And ultimately, like, is just a good example of what goes on. So it's not like T'Challa would be against the possibility of, like, adopting a white child. Because the other thing about T'Challa, he doesn't give a shit what your ethnic background is. Keep in mind, folks, one of T'Challa's closest friend in the Avengers is Captain America. Like, who is a white guy from Brooklyn. You know? Like, he's very close friends with Cap. He's very loyal to him. He's had friends from all different backgrounds. He's also very close friends with Spider-Man. So, I mean, when Spider-Man was going through his spider cancer during an arc in the 2000s, T'Challa's like, we're taking you to Wakanda, and I'm testing you, and we're going to fix this. I'm going to fix you. Which is so fucking funny to me, because I shit you not, during the course of this, while he was waiting on results, the Dora Milaje cornrowed Peter's hair.
Really?
They did. It's fucking hilarious. T'Challa just looks at him like, you let them do this?
But it's a free haircut or styling, so why not?
Yeah. And to be fair, Peter's hair was kind of long at the time. It would have fit better under the mask. But regardless,
true.
Like, the idea that like T'Challa is also like doesn't like white people is also not true. Like, T'Challa's a hero. He's a good dude. But people's misconceptions about him are so frustrating. So my thought is, and what's probably going to end up happening is, I have a feeling that T'Challa and Storm found an orphan. And again, Storm also, closest friends are white, very nice lady. Storm strikes me as the type of person that would also adopt a child that's non-African. You know? She's a very kind woman.
Yeah, she was basically a mother figure to Kitty and I think Rogue in some cases. But I know that she and Kitty back in the 80s had a close relationship.
Yeah. Not to mention, she was in a relationship with Wolverine at one point. Doesn't really get any whiter than the Canadian guy. So, the idea that this is somehow racist, I think, is fucking preposterous. Again, it's being written by a black writer who knows the character better than anybody. The surprising thing to me is that I don't think that this would have happened if Joe Quesada was not involved in telling Marvel editorial, Priest is writing this, you fuck off and let him do it. To which case, I feel like I'm going to throw up when I say this. Kudos to Joe Quesada. I can't believe I just said that. I feel wrong. It feels wrong. It feels wrong. So yeah, needless to say, I might pick this up to see what's going on with it and see what happens. Again, I just am frustrated by people throwing accusations of racism at Christopher Priest, a man who is very black. So, and if
these people are not comic book fans.
Yeah. And if Mr. Priest ever hears this, thank you for signing my Black Panther comic, sir. You still inspire me. All right, let's go ahead and get on to our final topic of the day. So this is really interesting to me because there has been consistent drama. We have not talked about it because it is like just standard drama. And oh God, how do I put this? There's been a lot of brouhaha going on around Twitch. Specifically drama around Hassan Piker, which we talked about Hassan before, I think, on a couple of points. The crazy shit that he's gotten up to. And there was a debate that was basically started based around the idea that Twitch was not really moderating its fucking website for certain people. Other people would get moderated to hell and back, but you could, if you were Muslim, or if you were supporting terrorism, or things along those lines, or if you were in what people would call Hassan Piker's waiting room, basically people that were associated with him, like Frogan, Denims, Mike from PA, and a couple other people, you basically had license to do whatever the fuck you wanted. The only time that people got suspended for crazy shit that they were doing was when they literally had a racial tier list at TwitchCon, while there were banners or like the logos of all of their advertisers behind the people doing this list. Which, by the way, the one thing that gets me more than anything is that the only person that was even somewhat of note on that stage was Denims, who is, again, just a former Destiny orbiter, now is part of Hassan's waiting room. And the podcast that it was based around, which is these fucking Arab assholes. Not saying that all assholes are Arabs or the other way around. It's just that they're Arabic and they're assholes. Who they hate Jews. I'm of the tribe. You could imagine why I'm not happy. Their podcast, maybe 5,000 subscribers on YouTube. I am more famous than these people in regards to like reach on social media. The only reason they're more well known or more infamous than I am is because I don't wish post-traumatic stress disorder on fucking soldiers. Mostly because I have friends that fought in wars and have come back with that, and I've seen them come back as shells of their former selves, and I don't wish that on anybody. But regardless, I don't, there were certain people that were making a big hubbub about the moderation, and they were very pissed off about it. The two most vocal being Tectone and Asmongold. Asmongold is, right now, apparently the number 2 streamer on the planet. Right behind Kai Cenat. In regards to overall reach. And then Tectone is like top 20. So, they were being very vocal about it. Obviously, Ethan Klein, who has been the subject of a lot of harassment from these people, of the H3H3 podcast, like him and his wife, obviously have complained about it as well, because Twitch just takes no action against Hassan Piker and the people around him. So now what we have started to see is that we are starting to see people leave. And we've started to see people basically say, look, I'm not making Twitch my priority. Like, I'm multi-streaming. And, by the way, like, we're not just seeing this with just, political dudes. Like, I'm seeing more VTubers do it, who, by the way, aren't embroiled in the conflict whatsoever. Probably, and I don't even think I've even commented on it. I'm seeing, like, Maximilian did, and he doesn't talk about this shit at all. Never references it, nothing. But the fact that he is, like, should tell people something, that there's a problem here. Because the other thing to mention about it is that revenue is down on Twitch. Advertisement revenue went down for everybody. And now people are finally starting to be honest about it. Which, the thing about advertising revenue on Twitch is that if you're a smaller streamer, you don't get shit. Your payouts are terrible, so on and so forth. But if you're a bigger streamer, your payouts are really big. Because, well, obviously you're bringing in more people, but it also doesn't pay off of an algorithm, in my opinion. I have a feeling that the people at Twitch, they say what your rate is this thing. I have a feeling that the rate is actually very different for the people at the top of the heap. Because I've seen, I think it was Moist Critical, put out like his money earned per 1,000 views, and then when he showed it, and then I checked mine, they were almost identical. Keep in mind, Charlie is at what, like 10,000 or 10 million subscribers? I'm at 30,000. So like the difference is huge, but the amount of money we make per 1,000 views is exactly the same. So YouTube, in my opinion, is probably the most fair platform out there as of right now, which not something I would have said 10 years ago.
Sounds fucking weird coming off the tongue.
Well, even 5 years ago. Just like when Susan was in charge. You know? So, looking at all of this, I never thought that Twitch would go under. I think that they're fucked at this point. I think that the exclusivity, or the lack thereof, is going to hurt them in the long run. I think the lack of moderation also hurts, because we're at a point where even Hassan had to tell his own chat to stop Fed posting.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, the fact that Hassan had to say that is wild. Not to mention the fact that, like, there are groups now that are start putting pressure on Twitch. The ADL being the big one, because for those who don't know, Hassan Piker wiped his Discord server. All the messages in it. Which...
He did?
Yep. Which, that's pretty fucking sus, to say the least. So... but the ADL have been going after him because of some recent anti-Israel or anti-Jew attacks that have happened. And he's caught blame because he is a vile human being. And I will... Some people aren't comfortable calling Hassan Piker anti-Semitic. I'm comfortable calling Hassan Piker anti-Semitic. He's anti-Semitic. Like, if you watch the Ethan Klein debate that he did, he flat out just denies elements of Jewish heritage and stuff that went on against Jews in the Middle East that I've only heard these talking points out of terrorists and like the Iranians, effectively. Which, given who Hassan's father is, and that his father helped negotiate the release of the guy who was behind the October 6th attacks, it wouldn't surprise me if these sorts of statements were thrown around the dinner table when Hassan was growing up. Again, I'm not saying that they were. I'm just saying it wouldn't surprise me. So there is... I'm gonna be honest about something. Like, not that I was lying before, but moderation's important. I've never been, and Mike has probably known me the longest of the people that are on this panel right now. I've never been anti-Janny. Never been against it. When everybody else was all about being anti-Janny, I was not. I've always admittedly been a bit of a, whore for the rules, is a good way to put it, I guess.
Janitors. Basically, more scum than mods, because they do it for free.
Yeah, I've never been against anti-mod. I've never been against having mods though, ever. I'm also of the opinion that the mods should also be fair, and I would like to think that I've been, at least over the years, been pretty good about picking my mods. But regardless, the way that I look at it is that mods, I kind of look at them as pruning or trimming the bushes.
They maintain the culture.
Plants. Yeah, exactly. They maintain the culture of what you want. And I have seen some communities that they did not do that, and the community falls apart. Because you just get people in there that just shit it up and make it terrible, and nobody wants to fucking be there. And, and even Serena has seen me have to do that. And I don't mind it. I think that it's a healthy thing. Because what effectively is going to happen is that if you don't, trim the branches, you're going to get overgrowth. And if you get this growth in the wrong direction, it's going to poke people in the eye. Effectively, what you end up having is people in your community that cause problems for everybody, and then nobody wants to be there. And this is effectively what we're seeing at Twitch. Twitch is becoming, it feels like, terrorist central. And just the absolute
notice and
yeah, terrorism and titties. That's what you get at Twitch. And the problem is that Twitch's median viewer is teenagers. So you have people like Morg Pie and Denims and others on there shilling their OnlyFans, their porn. So it's one of those things where the fact that they're not willing to take care of this, and then on the other hand, if you're a VTuber that shows too much hip in an outfit, you get banned. It's one of those things where people are seeing the rules not being put out, it's not equal enforcement. And on top of that, we're hearing that Twitch moderators, if they give somebody that's a favored streamer, basically Hassan as Orbiters, a ban, they actually communicate with the person to ask them, hey, when's your day off? We're going to ban you for this one day that you're not streaming. That shit's fucking vile,
Oh, just put it. Oy.
So, I think that this is the beginning of the end for Twitch, which is really unfortunate to see for me, because I remember when it was Justin TV. I remember I was on Lord Cat Live on Justin TV back when it first started. When I was hanging out with Jason and with other people at Channel Awesome. Around the time that Blistered Thumbs got started. So, to see it just degenerate into this fucking mess, and now with the ADL coming around, they're going to start putting pressure, and they're probably going to try to get in touch with Bezos. And if Bezos steps in on this, one or two things is going to happen. Is, either he's going to ignore it, and then the site is going to continue to go downhill, and people are just going to be like, all right, fuck this. I'm just going to go to Kick or YouTube, which Kick has the exact same problems that Twitch does. Which is fucking hilarious to me. It's the Wild West of streaming. So, but it's the alternative that pays better because they allow gambling. And they're making a ton of money off of that. But they're going to YouTube as well, so it's what Twitch now has no purpose. There's no reason to go there. You're not going to grow on Twitch. It's almost impossible to grow on Twitch. And then you're not going to there's no like actual content creation outside of live streaming. So you can't really like build your brand there. You have to go to TikTok or to YouTube to do that. You know? So as it stands, if they're not willing to get their shit together, that website's fucked. And it'll be nobody's fault but their own. Ban the balding Turk, you dummies. It's not that hard.
Or at least hold him accountable for fucking things that he says for longer than just like a day and an hour.
Basically, yeah. Oh, goodness. All right, folks. Want to say thank you for listening to us for another week. And hopefully everybody had fun. I'm definitely having fun with White Black Panther. This is kind of hilarious. Goddamn, I love Christopher Priest. But regardless, I do want to say, for those of you out there, we do appreciate you listening to us as often as you do. And yeah, I really don't have much to say beyond that. What about you guys?
Oh, I have to correct something I said about Randy Pitchford last week. I said that he was taken in by this one girl dildoing herself, and he said it was akin to a magic trick. It was her squirting that he likened to being a magic trick.
Oddly specific.
Very oddly specific, yes.
Oh,
what
goodness.
the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Lord. But yeah, folks, we definitely appreciate y'all coming by and hanging out with us. We will be back, barring anything catastrophic, to discuss more crazy stuff going on in the entertainment realm. And until next time, have yourselves a great rest of your day, and we'll see y'all next time.
Bye-bye.
Frick.